From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, June 30th, 2016. Silver is trading at $18.39 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,319 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $655. Antiwar.com reports the U.S. Embassy in Iraq has announced that the U.S. government has secured a $2.7 billion loan to the Iraqi government to pay for their ammunition and equipment maintenance during the war against the Islamic State. The loan will have a term of 8.5 years at a 6.45% interest rate. The deal is part of the U.S. Foreign Military Finance Program. The same program provided Iraq with upwards of $4 billion during the previous U.S. occupation of Iraq, though in that case the money was in grant form and not to be paid back. The U.S. State Department said it was keen to provide the loan guarantees to Iraq to ensure that their struggling economy, made all the more struggling by weak oil prices, does not get in the way of their open-ended war against the Islamic State. It remains to be seen, of course, if Iraq ever pays back the loan, and in all likelihood the money to repay it will come out of U.S. foreign aid to Iraq over the years to come, which is likely to continue to grow along with U.S. involvement in the conflict. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports 4 Baltimore police officers awaiting trial in the death of Freddie Gray have filed motions to have their cases dismissed. Lieutenant Brian Rice, Officer Garrett Miller, Sergeant Alicia White, and Officer William Porter cited defects in the prosecution's case after 2 recent disclosures. Earlier this month, during the trial of another defendant, Officer Caesar Goodson, Baltimore Police Detective Danielle Taylor testified that she was given a script by prosecutors to read to the grand jury that had several things that I found to be inconsistent with our investigation. In a separate case, a Baltimore sheriff's major said in an affidavit that he signed off on prosecutors' charges that did not have adequate details of the investigation. According to the motion, the officer who filed a statement of charges said in an affidavit that he was simply presented a narrative by the state's attorney's office and at most retyped the narrative, signed it under oath, and presented it for charges and arrest warrants for 6 officers. Attorneys for Rice said multiple defects rose to the level of prosecutorial misconduct and a violation of the officer's rights to due process. The filings in the other 3 cases contain similar language. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports the United States Senate gave approval on Wednesday to a relief plan to help Puerto Rico address its $70 billion debt, sending the measure to President Obama for his signing into law just ahead of a possible default by the U.S. territory on its next debt payment. The measure passed the Senate on a vote of 68-30, and President Obama said in a statement he looked forward to signing the bill into law. The House of Representatives had previously approved the bill. The legislation would create a federal oversight board with power to restructure Puerto Rico's unmanageable debt load. The bill provides for a stay or halt to any litigation brought against the Puerto Rican government and its debt-issuing agencies that is retroactive to December. This provides breathing room for the board to start the process of restructuring and oversee a sustainable budget process. On Friday, Puerto Rico faces a potential default on a chunk of its debt if it cannot make $1.9 billion worth of payments. Puerto Rico's governor, Alejandro Garcia Padilla, has said the island will default some of the debt. The 7-member board appointed by President Obama from recommendations given by party leaders in both the House and Senate is supposed to be in place by September 1st of this year. Neither major political party was entirely happy with the fix, and many in Puerto Rico are leery of the proposed oversight board, fearing it could usurp the island's government and place investors' concerns over local priorities. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.